Are you setting yourself up to fail? Hey team, and welcome to this week's episode of The Inspired Show, the show that is dedicated to helping you become the best version of yourself, mentally as well as physically. We've got a great show today, all about expectations. But before we delve into that, if you've not done so already, don't forget to subscribe. It's free to do so, and it means you get updated every single time a brand new episode drops. Smash a like on this video and share it with somebody who may benefit as well. And let me know any big takeaways in the comments. Also, we're here daily on all our social media pages. They're all linked down below inside the captions. Plus, this May, we've got a very special offer in our exclusive community where you can get 50% off the annual package that has everything that you need, from your meal plans, recipes, home workouts, gym workouts, emotional eating toolkits, you name it, we cover it. But today we're talking about expectations and how we could be setting ourselves up to fail. And this is a very important part of any journey. And the thing is, when we set unrealistic expectations, we are then setting ourselves up to fail every single time. So how do we actually do this? Well, let's give you a few examples, because I used to be a prime example of setting myself up to fail every single time I was trying to lose weight and get into shape. And you might think, yeah, do you know what? I actually do that as well. So for example, I used to tell myself, I'm going to lose 2 stone in a month. And looking back on it, is it possible? Yes. Is it realistic? No. Is it sustainable? Definitely not. When it comes to losing a large amount of weight in a short amount of time, it often revolves around very restrictive approaches with our food and also overexertion with our movement. So you're basically starving yourself on your diet and then running yourself into the ground with your walks and your training. And every time I tried to do that, I'd fall flat on my face. I would fail every single time. I'd want to be losing 4 or 5 pounds every single week. And when I wasn't doing that, I would get frustrated. I'd give up. Even though I'd still be losing 1 to 2 pounds per week, I'd set expectations so high that the 1 to 2 pounds wasn't good enough. So I'd end up self-sabotaging. Another unrealistic expectation I used to set myself was trying to train every single day at 110%. At the start of the week, I'd be, yes, let's go. And I would set myself this target of training every single day, but my body would be wrecked. I'd miss a day here and there, and I'd get frustrated because I wasn't doing what I said I was going to be doing. And again, I'd end up giving up. The same goes to my food. I would say to myself, I'm going to eat 100% clean this week, and then one meal off plan would mean I'd ruin it, and I'd self-sabotage and give up. So these unrealistic expectations are putting a heavy burden on our shoulders, and when we don't meet them, we often end up self-sabotaging. So this is something to be very, very mindful of. Another thing when it comes to expectations in this day and age is the social media trap. How many times have you looked on social media and seen somebody's transformation? And it seems too good to be true. And 9 times out of 10, it probably is. We're comparing ourselves to other people on social media where we don't know exactly what they're doing, what's going on behind the scenes, and it feels like we're comparing our whole life to the movie trailer of their life because they're showing their best bits. And sometimes this can give us unrealistic expectations in terms of where we are with our health and fitness journey at the moment. So we need to be very, very mindful that when we're looking on social media, it's great to use it for inspiration, but we shouldn't fall into the trap of setting unrealistic expectations, because sometimes when you look at other people on social media, they have completely different lives to you, okay? And that can warp your perception of what progress looks like. So be very mindful of that. So how do we actually set expectations that work? Well, when it comes to setting expectations that work, we need to understand that they need to fit into our life. And everybody's life is going to be unique to them. So one thing that I love to do with my coaching clients inside the Build to Inspire program is firstly ask them what the overarching goal is. What is it you want to achieve? So let's take a fat loss client, for example. Let's say a fat loss client came to me and said they wanted to lose 30 pounds of body fat and they wanted to become more confident, become more active, and also become that best version of themselves. Now, for a lot of people, when they start their journey, they want to be losing that 30 pounds yesterday. So their expectations are quite high. So we need to actually break that down. So for most people, on average, with weight loss, you're going to be looking around 1 to 2 pounds per week. If you've got a large amount of weight to lose, you may lose a bit more. If you are already quite lean and you haven't got a substantial amount to lose, it might be a little bit less. So we want to sit in that happy medium of 1 to 2 pounds per week. So knowing that, we can then look at this 30 pound fat loss goal that we've got and break it down and give it a realistic time frame. So 30 pounds, you're going to be looking at anywhere between 15 to 30 weeks. And that's a realistic expectation. So that's where we start from. We then look at the individual's lifestyle, look at what they're doing at the moment. So let's look at their training and movement history. So let's say, for example, they're quite sedentary, they sit behind a desk all day, and they've not been into the gym for a couple of years. So would it be realistic for that person who is sitting down all day already to jump up to 10,000 steps a day and start hitting the gym 5 times a week? Probably not. So we need to meet them where they're at. So as they're sitting down all day, they're probably maybe boxing off 3,000 steps per day. So we would set them an expectation of maybe aiming for 4,000 steps per day. And then we'd gradually increase that over time, aligning with realistic expectations. If they want to work out, we wouldn't jump straight to 5 times a week. We might say we'll start off with 2 sessions a week, meeting them where they're at. And if they do more than that, absolutely incredible. Let's look at an expectation around their food. Let's say over the last couple of years, they've not really focused on their food whatsoever. They have a couple of healthy meals here and there, but generally their nutritional split is around 80% highly processed food, and 20% of the time they do get some goodness in, like fruits and vegetables, so on and so forth. So is it realistic for that individual to go from 0 to 100 miles an hour with their food and change every single meal? Probably not. So what we'd probably do initially is give them a tag of simply keeping a food diary, log in their food, and after the first week, then making some amendments, maybe starting off with a healthy breakfast to start with. Once they get the hang of that and they get used to that, maybe move on to a healthy lunch alongside the healthy breakfast, and building them up week on week. And this is probably one of the best ways to do it because you're meeting yourself where they're at. And this is why it's so important to set the expectations correctly, because a lot of people live in a day and age where they want results yesterday and they try and run before they can walk. So aligning these expectations are super, super important. And when it comes to your journey, there are going to be times when you need to adjust. There are going to be times when you feel like you failed. That's why when you set these expectations at the right level, it gives you a little bit more wiggle room. It takes the pressure off your shoulders of having to be 100% perfect. And even when you set small expectations, there will be times when you do slip up and it may feel like failure. But what I want you to start thinking about is there is no such thing as failure as long as we can learn from it. So learn from why we slipped up, what the reason was, and what can we do to get back on track. Because ultimately, on your journey, we can reset whenever we want. We don't have to wait for a Monday. We don't have to wait for the new month. We don't have to wait for the new years. With every deep breath, we can make a better decision. And the decision's not about being perfect. It's about being consistent, and as consistent as possible. So hopefully you found this helpful today. If you did, I'd love to know your thoughts in the comment section below. And as always, if you have any more questions around this topic or any topic whatsoever, please don't hesitate to reach out to us on our social media pages. Until next week, team, have a great week and I'll see you soon.